Hi, my name's Leah Broom and welcome to my book talk. We are going to talk about this fantastic book called Square. It's written by Mark Barnett and illustrated by John Klassen. It would be good for primary to elementary school age children, somewhere between 5 and 9 years old. It's a nonfiction picture book, and we're going to see some fantastic images as I read through some of these pages today. So let's just get into it. Is Square a genius artist, or is that just something that his buddy Circle made up? Every day, Square pushes blocks out of his secret cave and up into a pile on top of a hill. He pushes big blocks and little blocks and medium blocks and all sizes of squares. One day, Circle's floating by and she mistakes Square's blocks for fantastic self-portraits and sculptures. "You're a genius," says Circle. Excitedly, she asks Square to make a sculpture of her too, but she leaves before Square gets a chance to tell her the truth. He just pushes blocks. He doesn't sculpt them. At first, Square wrestles with the fact that he's not really a genius or an artist. He's just trying to do his work. He's such an imposter. But he's determined to try his best, do his best job, and make a perfect piece of art for his friend Circle. That's a pretty tough job for a Square. As Square's anxiety increases, the rain picks up and falls harder and harder around our friend. And as the night rolls on, each page becomes darker and darker with the passing night. Through his determination, he accidentally chips away too many pieces, and there's nothing left to make any kind of shape, let alone a perfect circle. What's he gonna do now that he's chiseled his statue into rubble? I picked a scene from the book that I think that many of us can relate to. I love painting and crocheting and all kinds of DIY stuff, especially around the house. It's kind of my jam. I love to make things. So that also means that I'm quite familiar with what it feels like to start a project with a picture in my head and very quickly realize that it's not turning out as I imagined. I think that's something that Square can relate to as well. If only Bob Ross was around to tell Square that mistakes are just happy little accidents. So let's see how Square squares up to the challenge. Square got to work shaping the block. "Oh, crumbs," said Square. "This is not perfect." "Oh, dirt," said Square. "This is much worse." He went back to work. He worked and worked. And worked and worked. "Ah!" cried Square. He had carved the whole block away. There was nothing left. He was surrounded by rubble. Whatever is the opposite of perfect, that is what this is. I must stay up all night and figure this out. Square fell asleep. There he is there. We're just going to leave it at that. I wonder what Circle's going to think of Square's sculpture now. Do you think that Square will tell her the truth? You'll just have to read the book to find out. I absolutely adore the illustrations throughout this text. The layered watercolors and the large white spaces give me a sense of vast natural landscape. You can almost feel Square moving through the images. There he is right there. He's walking, he starts here, there's this cave, and he pushes the blocks all the way up to the top of the hill. The simplicity of the color palette, the grays, the blues, blacks, and the natural tones, is complemented by the detail and the layers within the illustrations. Square is such a relatable character, going with the flow and generally demonstrating the smile and nod strategy. He rarely seems to know what's going on, but the story tends to work out for him in the end. I really enjoy the ambiguous ending where the reader is left to interpret whether Square understands what's going on or whether his genius is in fact just happenstance. So if you like this book, or if you think that you'd be interested in this book, something else that's really fantastic is that it's actually part of a trilogy. I have the second one here from my public library called, you guessed it, Triangle. And it's my understanding that there's going to be a third one that hasn't been printed yet, and I'm really hoping that it's going to be Circle. That would just complete the trilogy for me. These are really fun books to read through with kids of all ages. The images are fantastic. It would be really fun to pair with a watercolor art project that the kids could practice their own shapes on for younger grades. And yeah, the images with the text and the design of it, it's a fantastic, incredibly fun read. I've gone through it many times. I would highly recommend. One last time, Square. Written by Mark Barnett and illustrated by John Klassen. Thank you so much for listening to my book talk, and have a great day.